welcome to the Mindset RX podcast, a show for functional athletes who want to gain the champ's mindset. Before we get into the show, I just want to remind you all of the Mindset RX coaching certification. If you need more info, check out the previous episodes. I think it's like episode 97 or something like that. It's basically, we're hiring. We need more mindset coaches, and the Mindset RX coaching certification is the only way to get into that. So if you're interested in the coaching cert, let me know and listen to that podcast, and then shoot me an email if you're interested as well, which is tom@mindsetrx.com. So today's show is all about motivation. The overwhelming feeling here is that we feel our motivation is dwindling a lot of the time. We find ourselves waking up, hitting the snooze button, and thinking, "Oh shit! If only I was so motivated, or more motivated." We find ourselves turning up to the box and about to start training, maybe warming up, and just feeling, "You know what? I don't want to be here. Like this isn't like, I don't feel good. I don't feel like I've got the drive." And you know you're recovered. You know you've eaten enough. You know you've slept well. So why do you lack the drive and the motivation? It's a very similar thing as well. It's like the motivation to be disciplined in your nutrition approach, or your mobility, or your hydration. You think, "Oh, if only I was more disciplined, more motivated, more driven." And it's a trap that so many CrossFitters get into. We're seeking that external source of motivation. And we so often fall into the trap that I found, or was reminded of today, when I was doing the check-ins with all my athletes. And funnily enough, in the current Mindset RX coaching certification, there was a lady in there who's coaching part-time, good athlete as well. And she mentioned while she was coaching at her box to, I think it was another coach or someone just kind of around the huddle while she was coaching. She said something like, "Oh, I've been doing the Mindset RX coaching certification." She explained a little bit about it. And another lady said to her, "Okay, then give us a quote. Give us something to get through this WOD." And I think that is the fundamental problem with the way most people view mindset, for two reasons. Number one, what good is a quote? Like, everyone knows this, but what good is the quote? And this lady was probably trying to be condescending or demeaning in some sort of way. So we have that. Like, that's taken care of because it's self-evidently stupid. Then we have the other side of things. And the other side of things is like, okay, so why is it stupid? Because, and let's answer it straight up, because it doesn't address the root problem. It doesn't address the root cause of our lack of motivation. Our lack of motivation isn't a result of not enough conscious activity. It's not the result of not enough going around in your head. It's about a subconscious story that is rooting around or just kind of bouncing around somewhere in your subconscious mind. It's something that says that, and by the way, this isn't something you can put a finger on. When I talk about beliefs, sometimes, like very occasionally, you can like go, "Okay, I believe this about the world. I believe that I'm not going to be good enough, or I believe that I'm scared, or I believe that I'm going to get injured, or I believe I'm going to fail." Like, sometimes you can put your finger on that. But more often than not, it's something which is much more insidious. And it's insidious because it's so hidden. It's so, like, we can't put our finger on it. But the only way we can uncover it is by looking at our actions and then deducing from our actions, that's what I believe about the world. That's how I see the world. And changing our conscious narrative, like, what I mean by that is putting quotes in your head, putting mantras in your head. That is only going to do so much, because our subconscious mind is in charge of like 95% of what we do. It's in control of almost everything. So if you are, and by the way, if you want proof of how much your subconscious mind is in control, just take stock of how many times you've surprised yourself ever, or disappointed yourself, or even pleased yourself. But just acted outside of the way that you're expecting yourself to act. Just think about that. How many times during a day do you do that? How many times do you look at your phone when you've told yourself you don't want to look at your phone? How many times do you not put another plate on the bar even though you know you should do? How many times do you not push as hard as you want to push in a WOD even though you know that that's what you should be doing, and you surprise yourself? This is because it's not the conscious mind that is in control. It's the subconscious mind. And by utilizing quotes and by creating mantras, we don't change a subconscious story. And it's only by changing the subconscious story that we change the outcome. Because what we're essentially trying to do, like the reason you're listening to this podcast is because you want the outcome to change. Like I'm 100% right then in assuming that, because no one just listens to a podcast for no reason. Like unless you're one of those people that likes the sleeping podcasts. I can't remember his name, where he goes through a story and he lulls you into sleep. Unless you're one of those people and you just love a British voice, like that's not why you're listening to this. You want to change something about your life. I'm guessing it's something to do with training, probably in relation to CrossFit or some variation of kind of functional movement or functional, like whatever you want to call it, functional competitive fitness. I'm guessing it's something to do with that. And I'm also guessing on a deeper level, you want to change something about you. You want to change the person you are, because you understand that you're not going to change the outcome without changing who you are. Because, well, inevitably, you want to change the behaviors you're performing. And to change the behaviors you're performing, you have to change who you are. You have to change the person you believe you are. Okay? And this is where it gets interesting. The more we look at stories of all kinds, the more we look at myths in the world, and by myths I mean stories that crop up time and time again that have some sort of educational purpose. Whether we look at myths or mythological stories from religion, whether we look at it from common culture, what we see the whole time is that we start off, and the reason why I'm pointing this out, let me just back up for a second. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because it's a myth for a reason. And that reason is it proves itself true time and time and time again. So we have the myth in front of us. And the myth often says there's someone who's in a situation. They decide they want to get better. And the only way they do that is by changing who they are. In other words, changing their actions. But the first thing they have to do is change their personality to overcome the example. To overcome the obstruction. There's a famous example, like Jonah on the whale. Jonah, I can't remember the original bit, but basically, or the beginning of it, but basically, God comes down, says to Jonah, you've got to go and tell the king and the whole city that you're doing shit wrong. You need to sort your shit out. And like basically Jonah needs to go to the king and say, you need to sort yourself out. You need to sort the whole city out. Now, Jonah goes on the way, and for some reason, he gets swallowed up by a whale. Okay, so you're thinking, okay. And in your mind, you're thinking, oh yeah, I get that. Jonah gets swallowed up for a whale. And whilst he's in the whale, he prays to God. He eventually kind of makes it up to God, praying. The whale vomits him out, which is a very undignified way to arrive anywhere, if you ask me. And from that, he goes, okay, and then he goes and tells the king, and then the king changes, he basically delivers the message to the king. And as you can tell, I'm not well versed in the Bible. What this essentially means is the same thing that we as athletes and we as human beings have to undertake, which is a process of change. That symbolizes the fact that we keep on doing the same things over and over and over again, even though we know we should get better, and metaphorically end up in that whale's stomach. And in order to become the type of person that we need to be, in that example, do God's will, but in our examples in day-to-day life, achieve the things we want to achieve, we have to change who we are. We have to change our mindset, because if we don't change our mindset, we don't change the outcome. And that is why mindset always has to come first. And it's why motivational quotes never work, because they don't change who you believe you are. It's why mantras don't work. It's because they don't change who we fundamentally believe we are. And it's also why aimless journaling and aimless meditation don't work, because it doesn't change who we fundamentally believe we are. So, in order to change our outcome, we have to change who we believe we are. And we do that with a much more nuanced approach. We do that with much more self-knowledge, like understanding ourselves and seeing our beliefs and assessing our actions objectively, rather than just accepting that they're there. We have to look at them and analyze them and think, that's interesting. Why am I doing this? And it's only by going through that process time and time again that we actually change who we are. Now, there's a bunch of ways to achieve this, most of which are in the Inner Athlete Performance Camp, all of which are included in the Mindset RX coaching certification. And it's the coaching certification that I recommend you take, even if you are an athlete, and even if you're not looking to help others, because it's the all-round knowledge you're going to get. It's the full view of mindset with all the tools that's going to help you. And to apply for your space, remember tom@mindsetrx.com, and we will change your beliefs. We'll change who you believe you are, and we'll change your outcome as a result of that, and teach you how to continue helping yourself and others in the long run. Now, until next time, there's no easy way to close off podcast. In over, I think it's almost 200 episodes that I've done of this podcast, whether it's interviews or speaking to others, I've never found an easy way to close off this podcast. So I'm going to just abruptly stop speaking, and that's going to be the end of yet another episode of the Mindset RX podcast.